Hey, this is Kendra with Signing Agent Basics, and in this video, I want to remind you that you need to know and follow your state's notary law. As a signing agent, we have a lot of responsibilities in the loan signing process. We have to know how to properly print out documents on the right size paper, and then we have to drive to the signer's location on time. We have to be able to give a brief description of all of the documents and ensure that the signer properly signs and dates all required documents. We sometimes have to collect additional required items from the signers and then have to have the technical ability to scan a copy of the signed documents securely back to the contracting company. And last, we have to be sure to take the completed package to the proper location to make sure that the documents are shipped out on time to be received by the contracting company. Now, while that is a lot, those duties that I just listed are only those of a signing agent. However, we are not just signing agents. We are also notaries public. And as notaries public, we have a duty and a responsibility to follow the specific notary law in our state. So first, what is a notary public? And what are the duties and responsibilities of a notary public? According to the National Notary Association, a notary public is an official of integrity appointed by state government, typically by the Secretary of State, to serve the public as an impartial witness in performing a variety of official fraud deterrent acts related to the signing of important documents. These official acts are called notarizations or notarial acts. Notaries are publicly commissioned as ministerial officials, meaning that they are expected to follow written rules without the exercise of significant personal discretion. Now, guys, this is very important because it means that we as notaries public cannot change or bend the rules to fit a signer, lender, title company, or signing company's requests. Also, another important point is that a notary public is appointed to serve the public, not to serve the interest of the signer, lender, title company, or signing company. Notaries public are required by law to follow the notary law of their state exactly, with no exception. A notary has three main duties. First, to screen the signers of important documents for their true identity. Second, to reasonably determine that a signer is signing willingly without duress or intimidation. And last, to reasonably determine that the signer is aware of the contents of the document or transaction. In short, the whole point of being a notary public and having a document notarized is to deter fraud by establishing a signer's identity, establishing that the signer knows what document they're signing, and that they're a willing participant in the transaction. Now, while that seems simple and reasonable, there will be times that you will run into a request to break or bend the notary laws of your state to complete a loan signing. There are a few requests that I see more often than others, and I'm going to go into details about those requests in just a moment. But before I tell you my thoughts about the subject, I want to know what you think. Have any of you ever had a request from a signer, lender, title company, or signing company to not follow your state's notary law? If so, how did you handle it? Go down into the comment section right now and let me know. No matter what, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, so one of the first ways that a signer, lender, title company, or signing company may request that you not follow notary law is by asking you to accept an ID that does not meet your state's ID requirements. As a notary public, one of the first things that you should do when you meet with a signer is to determine their identity. And normally, the way you do this is by obtaining a current photo ID from the signer that meets your state's notary law requirements. Check the notary law for your state to verify what constitutes acceptable photo ID. Some states require that the ID be unexpired. Other states only require that the ID be current, and some states will allow you to accept an expired ID within a certain time frame. Some states may allow you to accept foreign ID while other states won't. Some states won't accept foreign ID for general notarizations, but they will allow you to accept foreign ID for real estate transactions. Also, you should realize that ID requirements that satisfy the lender may not be the same as ID requirements for notarization. If a signer has an expired ID and the lender says that they will accept it, that does not mean that you can accept an expired ID for notarization. Again, check your state's notary law, and even if the lender or title company is okay with accepting an expired ID, if your state notary law says that it is unacceptable, then you must refuse the notarization unless the signer can provide you with another form of ID that is acceptable for notarization. Another way that you may be asked to not follow your state's notary law is by accepting an ID with a name discrepancy. One of the most common types of name discrepancies that you'll run into is last name discrepancies. In some cases, a signer's last name may appear differently on different documents for reasons such as marriage, divorce, cultural custom, or professional identity. For example, the signer may have an ID that lists their name as Jane Smith, but she's since gotten married and the documents are drawn up with her new last name, Jane Johnson. The lender may tell you that they have included an AKA statement in the document that lists both last names, so it is okay for you to accept the ID that says Jane Smith, even though she is signing the documents and you are notarizing the documents with the name Jane Johnson. However, your notary law may not agree with this. In many states, the only name that you can list in the jurat or acknowledgement is the name that is shown on the photo ID. The lender's AKA statement does not supersede your state's notary law and generally cannot be used to give you permission to complete the notarization with the last name discrepancy. The signer may offer up other documents, such as a copy of their marriage certificate as proof of their new last name, but again, unless your notary law states that this is okay, you cannot accept that as proof of identification. Yet another way that you may be asked to not follow your state's notary law is by completing a notarization for a signer that you cannot directly communicate with. Remember that as a notary public, one of your duties is to reasonably determine that a signer is signing willingly without duress or intimidation. Now, to help determine this, in many states, it is required that the notary and the signer both speak the same language to be able to directly communicate with one another. So, for example, if I have a signer that only speaks Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish, then I should not complete the notarization. Signing agents will sometimes be asked to complete a signing using a translator who is often a family member or another party to the transaction, such as a co-borrower or a real estate agent. However, the problem is that as the notary, if you do not speak the language, you have no idea what the translator is actually saying to the signer. You have no way of knowing if the signer actually understands the documents, if they are signing the documents willingly, or if they are being coerced into signing the documents. So you as the notary should refuse the notarization in this instance. One last way that you may be asked to not follow your state's notary law is by notarizing documents that you did not watch a signer sign. As a notary public, when you are completing a jurat, you must witness the signer sign the document in front of you, and for both acknowledgments and jurats, the signer must be physically in front of you when you perform the notarization. This means that you can't just hand a loan package to a signer to sign out of your presence for them to return back to you after signing while you wait in another room, outside, or in your car. And again, part of your duty as a notary public is to reasonably determine that a signer is signing willingly without duress or intimidation, and that the signer is aware of the contents of the documents or transaction. How can you do this if the signer signs the documents outside of your presence? Now, you may be wondering, why is all of this so important? Some people, even some notaries public, think that notarization isn't a big deal. Well, notarization is a big deal. Again, it protects signers from document fraud and ensures the integrity of business and legal transactions. Willfully breaking the law or even making an unintentional mistake can lead to serious financial and legal penalties for you. So what exactly can happen to you if you don't follow your state's notary law and you notarize a document improperly? Well, one of the first things that could happen is that you could have your notary commission suspended or even revoked. And this means loss of income as a notary and as a signing agent, which could be detrimental, especially if you are a full-time signing agent who relies totally on your income as a signing agent to survive. Another consequence of not following your state's notary law is that you could face civil penalties and you could be required to pay a fine, which could range from a few $100s to several $1,000s. And even if a state does not fine a notary or levy other punishments for misconduct, a notary can still be sued by a signer in civil court if the notary's actions were responsible for financial losses. And last, but definitely not least, under some states' laws, certain violations in performing a notarization can lead to a notary being found guilty of a misdemeanor or even a felony in serious cases. This means you could face jail time for improperly notarizing a document. Now, I don't know about you, but no one's document or loan is worth me facing any of those penalties and possibly losing my livelihood, my income, or even my freedom. You might now wonder why a company would even ask you to improperly notarize a document if the consequences are so serious. Well, I believe that many people and companies simply don't know that what they're asking you to do is improper or illegal. Remember, it is your responsibility to know the notary law for your state. You are the expert when it comes to notarizations, not them. Because they do not know the notary law, they may ask you to do something without even realizing that they are requesting that you break the law. Another reason why a company might ask you to improperly notarize a document is because another notary who did not know their state's notary law may have done the requested improper action in the past, leading the company to again believe that what they are requesting that you do is not illegal. I've had times where I've refused a notarization because it was against my state's notary law, and the contracting company said that they didn't think it was a problem because another notary had done it for them previously. Again, guys, no matter who requests it and no matter what their reason is behind the request, it is your responsibility to refuse to improperly notarize documents. If you do improperly notarize a document, you can personally face civil and criminal charges. This is why it is so important to take your education as a notary public seriously and take the time to learn your state's notary law. Now, some states do require that you take a class or pass required training before you are given your notary commission. And while I know that these classes may be boring, please take the information seriously and take the time to truly learn the information. However, some states, like my state of Texas, don't require that you take a class or pass any required training before you are given your notary commission. You are expected to take the initiative to learn your state's notary law on your own. And guys, ignorance of the law is no defense. If you break a notary law because you did not take the time to learn the law, you will still be held responsible. So on top of taking the time to learn your state's notary law, there are a few other things that you can do to make sure that you keep your knowledge of your state's notary law current. The first is to review the notary information on your state's Secretary of State website frequently. The Secretary of State website will have the most current and accurate information about your state's notary law. Your Secretary of State website will probably also have links to educational materials and notary public training videos, so be sure that you review this information frequently. It is also very helpful to have a copy of your state's notary law handbook or notary law primer on hand at all times. This will allow you to quickly look up the answers to questions you may have about notary law while you are out and about. And you can also use it to show the signer, lender, title company, or contracting company that a request that they are making goes against your state's notary law, and that's why you are unable to comply. So, signing agents, was this video helpful? Do you now understand why it is so important to know your state's notary law? If so, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button right now. Also, if you find my videos helpful and you want to know how I can help to train you to be a more productive and profitable signing agent, go down into the description box for more information about my signing agent training program and my remote online notarization quick start training program. And if you are not already following me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, make sure that you do that today. Links to all of my socials are also down in the description box. No matter what, make sure that you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and then hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. This is Kendra with Signing Agent Basics, hoping that you have a productive and profitable day.